Just 1 year ago from exactly today, the Detroit Pistons lost 112-110 to the Houston Rockets, bringing them to 3-37 through the first half of the 2023-2024 NBA season. And just 2 weeks prior, they would make NBA history, losing to the Boston Celtics in overtime 128-122, making it their 28th straight loss and their record plummeting to 2-29. And if you remember correctly, just a few games before that, after going 2-26, chance of selling the team broke out, and Cade Cunningham would have this to say after his post-game presser.
Yeah, we're not 2-26 bad. You know what I mean? Like, no way are we that bad. So yes, I think we can turn it around. I think we can play a lot better brand of basketball than we're playing right now.
But as we fast forward to today, the Detroit Pistons are 20-19 on the year and have now eclipsed their win total from the previous 2 seasons in just half of the games. And the biggest reason for that is that Cade Cunningham is playing on an all-star level. But what no one's paying attention to is just how good of a season Cade Cunningham is having. If he can keep this up, he would become just the second player in NBA history to do what he is doing. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. Cade Cunningham is chasing history and no one is noticing. Let's get into the video. Like I said in the intro, last year was a year from hell for the Detroit Pistons and for Cade Cunningham, with people being pretty split on their opinions of him as a player. Some thought he just was not a #1 guy, while others, like me, thought that he was in a terrible situation and still had superstar potential. But if we look at what changed this offseason, Monty Williams gets fired. They bring in JB Bickerstaff, freshly fired from the Cleveland Cavaliers after putting them in the playoffs as the 4 seed the past 2 years. And they also add some really solid veterans in Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Malik Beasley. Plus, they essentially fire their previous GM, Troy Weaver, and bring in Trajan Langdon from the New Orleans Pelicans. And all of these things have been massive for the Pistons this year, but none more important than the continued step forward and ascension of Cade Cunningham. Right now, he's averaging 24.2 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, and 9.5 assists per game. He's doing so on 51.9% effective field goal and 37% from 3. And that 9.5 assists per game is good for 3rd in the NBA behind just Trae Young and Nikola Jokic. Like I teased at in the intro, if he can keep up 24 plus points per game, 6 plus boards, and 9 plus assists for the rest of the year, he would become just the 2nd player in NBA history to average those numbers, being 23 or younger, with Oscar Robertson being the only other player to do so, doing it twice. So Cade really is chasing history here, even though nobody's really paying attention. I truly believe he's playing at an all-star level and deserves his first selection in his 4th season, which makes me really happy because if you look at this video I made about Cade Cunningham and his situation with the Detroit Pistons last year, basically saying that they're ruining him, they're wasting him, they have failed to develop a team around him. These were some of the comments I got from that video, people not believing in Cade at all. And like I mentioned before, shooting has been the biggest reason why Cade hasn't looked as good as he possibly could have to start his career. Matter of fact, that last year, Detroit Pistons team was horrendous from beyond the arc. They ranked 26th in 3-point percentage while being 27th in volume. Fast forward to this year, and the Detroit Pistons are about middle of the road in both percentage and volume, which basically is just thanks to the 3 guys they signed this offseason: Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, and Tim Hardaway Jr. And it really just makes sense. I mean, Cade Cunningham is a heliocentric type of player. He needs spacing, he needs shooting around him, he needs the corners to be opened up because he wants to get to the rim, he wants to play within the mid-range, he wants to throw lobs, and he wants to hit players open in the corner. But what's even crazier to me about this Pistons team is that since Jaden Ivey broke his leg on New Year's Day, they've won 6 of their last 7 games, and in that time span, they've had a net rating that's good enough to be 6th in the entire NBA. In those games, Cade is averaging 25.1 points per game, 6.6 boards, 8.9 assists, and 45% from 3. Now, the biggest thing about Cade's game that he will always have to continually improve, and especially this year, is his turnovers. He's averaging 4.3 turnovers a game with a turnover rate, according to cleantheglass.com, of 14.8%. However, if we provide a little bit of context there, Trae Young has the exact same turnover rate as him, with Ja Morant and James Harden both having higher ones. So it could be worse for a guy that has that much usage. And if we take a look at some advanced metrics for the Pistons themselves, you'll see here, today's video is brought to you by Raycon. Just ask my wife. I've tried multiple earbuds and over-the-ear headphones over the years, and for some reason I've just never been too happy with my choices until I started using these Raycon everyday earbuds. I'm someone who needs something reliable and comfortable to use every single day, given my job as a YouTuber and video editor, and these Raycon earbuds are exactly what I have been looking for. They're super easy to use, and they also produce high quality audio, which is important for me when I'm editing a YouTube video. But I think my favorite part about Raycon is just how affordable they really are. You can pretty much get 2 of these Raycon earbuds for you and your significant other or someone important in your life for the price of just one of those other brands. The battery life is insane on these. I also love the quick charge feature because I'm someone who will not charge or prepare ahead of time, and I'll plug it in for 10 minutes while I do some scripting for a video or while I'm on my way to the gym. And in those 10 minutes, it'll get you 90 minutes of battery life. The only downside about these is my wife likes to steal them all the time, even though she has a pair of one of those more popular headphones. When you purchase a pair of Raycon earbuds, you also get a protective case for free, which is important for people like me who are not as good at being gentle and taking care of things. Another thing I like about these earbuds is that when I'm doing something around the house that's going to take 30 to 45 minutes, like the dishes or just cleaning up, I like to throw these in and listen to one of my favorite podcasts or YouTubers. I use these every day and could not recommend them enough. So if you go to buyraycon.com/hardwood, you can get 15% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get 15% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/hardwood. So what are you waiting for? Head to the link in my description. Thank you, Raycon, for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to the video. That only Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, and Cade Cunningham have a positive net rating for the Pistons right now. And as much as I want to love Jalen Duren, I really don't think he's the answer as a big guy for this team. They could really use an upgrade at that position. Again, I'm not saying I'm completely out on him. I think he's a fine backup center, but I don't think he's the guy that we initially maybe thought he could be after his first season. And another huge development in Cade's game over the past 2 seasons has been his three-point shot. If you take a look at his rookie year, I know that sophomore year he barely played, but he didn't really shoot it well from 3. And then last year he was still just a tad under league average, bumping that up a couple percentage points this year at 37%. And like I said, shooting even better over the past 6 or 7 games. Just take a look at how much spacing the Pistons have in some of these clips this year versus last season. I mean, last year they were trotting guys out, playing significant minutes, like Killian Hayes, who shot just 29% from 3, Isaiah Livers 28% from 3, Troy Brown Jr. 28% from 3, even Evan Fournier 27% from 3. Versus this year, you got Tobias Harris shooting 35% from 3, Malik Beasley shooting 39.6, Tim Hardaway Jr. 38.7, even Azar Thompson having a 10% increase at 28.6%, and then Jaden Ivey, before he got hurt, shooting 40% from 3 instead of 33% last year. It's just a much better shooting team, head and shoulders from last year. And if we take a look at Cade's advanced metrics on dunksandthrees.com, you'll see that they love the offense that he is playing this year. It is a pretty noticeable increase from last year. And even his defense, Dunks and Threes thought he was an awful defender last year, versus this year, he's pretty above average. And if we take a look at cleantheglass.com, you can also see here that he just elevates everybody on the floor with him on it. He's in the 96th percentile for effective field goal percentage with him on the court. His team shoots 4.9% better effective field goal with him on the court. And another part about Cade's game that he's really effective at is getting to the basket. As you can see here, center's culture has him 6th in the NBA in rim and post scoring composite score for guards. The only thing he can clean up a little bit is just his effective field goal percentage around the rim, but I really think that's something that would help a ton if he had a better big man. Like De'Aaron Fox has Sabonis, Shea has Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, TJ McConnell has Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam, and then Jalen Brunson has Karl Anthony Towns. Cade has nobody anywhere close to any of those players. So with that being said, I think Cade has finally proven to the doubters that he is a rising superstar in this league. The only question we have now is, how far can the Pistons take this season? Or will a team like the 76ers steal their spot? Or could they even make it out of the play-in, beating a team like the Indiana Pacers or the Atlanta Hawks? Could they maybe slide into the 6th seed, beating out the Pacers, beating out the Heat? I honestly really don't know. I think they're lacking on a talent level. Obviously, these veteran signings have been massive from a production standpoint, but Jaden Ivey's out for the year. He is your second creator. And if you look at the teams around them in the East, they are just clearly the least talented in my opinion, except for if this Jimmy Butler situation really does materialize into a trade by the deadline, then I think they do have a chance to beat out the Miami Heat. Only problem is, at some point, I really do think the Indiana Pacers are going to get it going. I think the Philadelphia 76ers are going to make a push for that 6th seed as well, which sounds crazy to say right now. And so my opinion personally is the Pistons get the 8 or 9 seed and they maybe win one game in the play-in if they're in the 9 or 10. But ultimately, they do not make the playoffs this year, which is not a bad thing if you're Detroit. This is a huge leap forward. You have a ton of cap space to work with in the future. The future is totally bright. I trust Trajan Langdon right now to understand what it looks like to build a team around Cade Cunningham. And at the very least, let's see if Cade Cunningham can make NBA history this year, becoming just the second player to do what only Oscar Robertson has done. If you enjoyed this video, guys, thank you so much for watching. Cade is an absolute rising superstar in this league, and he deserves way more recognition for it. He deserves an all-star appearance this year. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see ya on the hardwood.